national housing emergency declaration to address the high cost and low availability of homes.
Not being able to afford a house or getting priced out of the one you rent is a familiar story for millions of people.
Pushing forward with, they're considering a potential national housing emergency.
2 million homeowners are behind on their mortgages, and the fear is real. But this isn't 2008 we're playing. Today, you'll see what the numbers actually mean and what you can do right now to protect your home. I'll show you how to read your mail, use a free HUD counselor, and talk to your servicer without panic. Stay to the end of the video because there's a simple plan that you can start today. You're hearing 2 million behind and your brain jumps to foreclosure headlines. But here's the reality. Delinquency means 30 plus days late. It's a warning light, not an automatic foreclosure. According to the Mortgage Bankers Association's National Delinquency Survey, it's a lot to get out. Overall delinquencies sit around 4% throughout the nation, elevated from recent lows, but they're still below the long-term historical averages. So what's changed is the composition and the pressure points, which we'll talk about. FHA loans carry the heaviest burden. FHA delinquency rates are around north of 10%, and serious delinquencies, which are 90 plus days late, are materially higher for FHA than for conventional loans. Why does that matter? FHA borrowers include a lot of first-time buyers and lower down payment loans. They feel inflation faster and harder, and the thing most people miss is the non-mortgage squeeze. What do I mean by that? Rising insurance premiums in many states, especially Florida, higher property taxes. General inflation has tightened budgets to the point that even a modest surprise can push a household late. Now, let's connect more dots. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York, the Household Debt and Credit Report that they release shows rising stress not only on first mortgages, but also on HELOCs, the home equity lines of credit. That uptick tells you homeowners have been leaning on equity in order to patch up cash flow, right? When that line is maxed out and rates are higher, the backstop is gone. That's why you'll see delinquencies creeping up together across many different loan products. So what about foreclosures? Adams, and quickly, Adam is a housing data provider. So Adam's mid-year reporting shows filings up year over year from the pandemic trough, the pandemic bottom, and well below the pre-2022 levels. That's important. Servicers and regulators throttled foreclosure activity during and after the pandemic. Think of a kinked garden hose, less water is coming out and pressures building up behind it. So as those kinks are loosened, policy expirations, normalized timelines, the flow increases. That doesn't equal a crash, but what it does equal is a return towards normal processing that includes a backlog bleeding into the system. Here's the shortcut that nobody teaches. Serious delinquency is the true risk marker, not a single missed payment, right? MBA, the Mortgages Bankers Association, the MBA data shows that serious delinquencies rising across loan types, with FHA higher than conventional. If you're 90 plus days late, timelines matter far more for you than a homeowner who's not. But even then, foreclosure is a process with multiple off-ramps: modification, repayment, forbearance, exit options, short sale, deed in lieu as a last resort. The reason this works is simple. Lenders and investors prefer a performing asset on the books or a controlled resolution. Foreclosure is expensive and it's a slow process for most loan servicers. So no, this isn't 2008's credit collapse. This is not the great financial crisis. That was toxic underwriting and systematic leverage. Today is affordability strain. The takeaway: rising delinquencies signal stress, not inevitable loss. Your job is to act before late becomes serious delinquent. That's where your options are the widest and the outcomes are the best. So now let's make this practical. How to spot trouble early and respond fast. The 3 critical warning signs. The first warning sign: the mail that you're avoiding. There's a difference between a courtesy reminder and a legal notice. Courtesy letters say your payment wasn't received. Legal notices use words like default, demand, acceleration, or they reference a state-specific notice of default or a right to cure. In the state of Florida, we have what's called lis pendens. It's essentially the notice of default in the legal terms, because the state of Florida is a judicial state. So when you see those terms, the clock starts. Don't guess. Open the letter, read the due date, and the cure amount. Call the number on the letter to confirm that you received it and ask for next steps. You remember nothing else. Open every letter from your loan servicer the day that it arrives. Second warning sign, the calls that you don't want to take. Servicers are required to reach out when you fall behind. You might expect pressure or even shame, which is very normal. What you'll actually hear, though, from your loan servicer is, if you're prepared, is a script about hardship options. Your move is simple. Pick up the call, confirm your identity, and you state to them your hardship in one sentence. Ask about what loss mitigation is available for you, and keep it short. Your job hours were cut, medical expense, insurance spike. Most people talk too long and they overpromise on these calls and they get flagged as unreliable. Don't do that. Ask for a list of required documents and the fax or the upload portal that they have. Then repeat back what you heard. You need A, B, C, by what date? Correct? Am I right here? Write the rep's name, their ID, the time. The squeaky wheel gets scheduled. The organized wheel gets approved. The third warning sign, misunderstanding timeline. Look, at 30 days late, you're delinquent. At 60 days, you're a little deeper. At 90 days, you're seriously delinquent and you're eligible for foreclosure initiation in many states, judicial or non-judicial. But even then, most foreclosures take months, 3 to 6 months on average here in Florida, sometimes even longer, depending on the state law and the court backlogs that they have. That time is not for hiding. That time is your action window. Here's where most people mess up. They wait for either a lump sum of money that they can't create in order to pay off this debt. Meanwhile, documents expire, calls stop, and files close. Once you nail the timeline as a homeowner, everything else clicks because you'll stack small wins early on in the process. So open the mail, answer the phone calls, submit a complete package. Let me show you exactly how to turn these warnings that I'm talking about into momentum for you today. Okay. Start with a single folder, either digital or paper, name it mortgage. Inside, you're going to include your income proof, 2 pay stubs or recent tax returns. You want to try to do 2 tax returns, a hardship letter that's 3 sentences to a paragraph long, a monthly budget with only your essentials, and your latest mortgage statement with the loan number. This is going to be your starter kit. Next, you're going to write a 2-line call script. Nothing crazy. My name is so-and-so. My loan number is such and such. I'm experiencing a hardship and want to request loss mitigation options to avoid foreclosure. Read that on the call. Ask for the application link and a due date. Common pitfalls to avoid. Promising a payment date that you can't meet. Sending partial paperwork. Incomplete packages stall the process. Ignoring escrow changes. Escrow shortages from taxes or insurance can spike the payments. Ask for an escrow analysis and options to spread those shortages. Quick win you can achieve today. Call a HUD certified housing counselor. It's free. They'll help you prepare a complete package and they'll talk to you, the servicer with you. You can call them and you call the loan servicer and they're there on the line. That third-party voice calms the process and reduces the he said, she said, the back and forth of it all. And here's why this matters. When you respond early and document everything, you shift from reactive to proactive. Services prioritize complete files. Investors approve clean, well-documented modifications and repayment plans. You can't control the economy, but what you can control is the speed, the accuracy, and the follow-up that it takes to get this loss mitigation process reviewed and approved. Highlight this, take notes, listen to this twice if you have to. Open every letter, answer every call. Work the timeline before day 90. That's how you keep your options wide. So what's your immediate action plan? We're going to move from stress to action. 3 moves today, not tomorrow. First, connect with a HUD certified housing counselor. This is free, it's national, and they work for you. Go to HUD's website, find a local agency, or call the HUD housing counseling line. When you get through, say, I'm behind or at risk of falling behind on my mortgage. I need loss mitigation guidance. They'll book a session, tell you which documents to gather, and help you frame your hardship clearly. So why start here? Because counselors speak the servicer's language. They know the portals, the forms, the timelines, and the difference between the servicer and the investor, who actually sets the rules. With them on the line, you can avoid bad assumptions and you escalate faster when files stall. And let me just say, at Project Homeowner Rescue, while we focus in the state of Florida, we're willing to listen and book any call with a homeowner from anywhere in the country. But Project Homeowner Rescue does the exact same thing. You can book a call with us, and we're going to review your foreclosure case and figure out what the best options are for you. So second, build a complete loss mitigation package. Servicers approve complete files first. So here's your checklist. Income. You want your last 2 pay stubs, benefits letter, so whether it's your Social Security awards letter or maybe even unemployment awards letter. You want your last year's tax return and the year prior to that. And if you're self-employed, you need to include a year-to-date profit and loss statement or profit and loss ledger if applicable. Your hardship letter, 3 sentences, could be up to a paragraph. What happened, when it started, and why it's likely temporary and now stabilized. Or now stabilized, I should say. Your budget, essentials only, housing, utilities, food, transportation, insurance. You want to leave out all the non-essentials because the math needs to show that you can support the modified payment. Another thing to include is your mortgage statement. It seems redundant because you're sending this to your loan servicer, but the mortgage statement included to your complete loss mitigation package shows the loan number and the escrow breakdown, and it also verifies to them that you're the one that's receiving these mortgage statements. Another thing to add are your bank statements. You want the last 2 months for all the accounts that you have your name on. And if on the mortgage note, for example, there are 2 homeowners, husband and wife, then you want more bank statements for both husband and wife. Proof of occupancy if required. We like to do this at Project Homeowner Rescue, so we include driver's license and or utility bill, typically FPL. Next thing that you want to do is you want to label your files clearly. Last name _ loan number _ pay stub _ the date, and so on. Upload these as PDFs, combine small pages into one file per the category. That way you can cut going back and forth and reducing, hey, we're missing page this, because those things kill momentum. And let me just tell you guys something. Loan servicers are notorious for this. You send, let's say, 5 documents that you were told that you needed to send. They come back and say, hey, we're actually missing document X and Y, when they never told you that on the first phone call. This is something that happens notoriously. I have worked with homeowners who told me, man, I've been trying to send them these paperwork for months now. And when we sit down together, we take a week or 2 just gathering all the documents to send it all at once. And even then, even when you have professionals by your side, they'll come back and say something is, a signature is missing or a page is missing. These things are normal, but you need to be prepared. So label your documents correctly. Third, contact your servicer today. I mean it. Call them today. If you're facing foreclosure, man, if you have an auction sale date, call them today and use a simple script. My name is such and such. My loan number is such and such. I'm experiencing a documented hardship and I want to apply for loss mitigation in order for me to avoid foreclosure. What options are available? What can I do? Where do I submit a complete package? Ask for the current and correct application portal that they have or the email. You want to ask for all the documents by the channel. So for example, if you're doing loan modification, what is the full document list? If you're doing a short sale, what's the full document list for the short sale? You want to ask for due dates and expected review timelines. They may give you the runaround, but ask anyway so that you can have it recorded. Early on in the stage, you may not have a single point of contact, a SPOC, but depending on where you are in your particular journey right now, you want to ask who is your single point of contact. Then you want to mirror back what you heard on every single call. Get the rep's name, get their ID, put the dates on your calendar of when you called, put dates of submission dates, follow up in 5 business days. And even after 5 business days, you want to follow up every week thereafter. So if there's a portal, you want to check the portal, see if it shows anything that's incomplete. And if it is, call that same day. Ask which item is missing and how to resolve it. If you're denied, request the written denial reason and the investor guideline reference. A lot of homeowners don't realize they can do that. They get a denial letter and they just throw hands up. No, this gives you something to fix or even something to appeal towards, okay? Right now, we've talked about a lot, okay? I want to be able to get into some of the key tactics that you'll need to be aware of and knowledge that you'll be able to have so that way you can tackle the foreclosure moving forward. So let's do this. Escrow shock. If taxes or insurance has spiked, ask for an escrow analysis and whether the shortage can be spread over time. Any forbearance exit. If you've used forbearance, ask whether deferral or a repayment plan or a modification is available based on your income. If there are any income gaps, include a short note explaining job transition or medical leave with expected return date and any documentation towards the income gaps. There are going to be certain things that you're going to want to avoid, whether on the phone call or whether in the process of trying to negotiate your loss mitigation. What to avoid? Verbal promises to pay by a date that you can't meet. Please don't tell them I'm getting money on such and such date and I can make the full payment or I can pay my arrears. Don't do that. Partial submissions. Wait 1 day to send a complete, clean package over sending 1 page 1 day, 2 pages the next day. Just send it all at once so that it's a complete file. One thing to avoid is silence. And what I mean by that is not following up. Listen, files die quickly, okay? Files die quickly. I've heard of certain reps handling up to like 500 case files in a day. Quick win today. Get your HUD counseling appointment on the calendar. Better yet, projecthomeownerrescue.com. Go on there, schedule a call appointment, put it on the calendar, and start your document folder collection today, okay? Write your hardship letter. Export any documents that you have into the folder. Draft a call script. Tomorrow, call the servicer, okay? Call the servicer with a counselor on the line. All that is forward motion to resolving the foreclosure that you're facing. Once you stack these actions, you've changed the game for yourself, okay? You're not reacting to late notices. You're leading the process. I'd like to take the time to actually talk about some real homeowner stories and what actually works, all right? Let's ground this in real outcomes, not something that is random, but things that are typical that you can see out there. This may be your situation. These are things that I've seen in my career as I worked with homeowners. A widowed homeowner who inherited a mortgage and a probate headache. I've been there. I've worked with that homeowner. The income has stopped. Income's dropped. Taxes have climbed. Payments fall behind. She contacted a certified foreclosure advocate like myself. She engaged a real estate attorney in order to align probate, and she was able to assemble a full short sale package with hardship, budget, and an as-in offer from a qualified buyer. What was the outcome? The loan servicer obtained investor approval for that short sale with a full deficiency waiver. Full deficiency waiver, we're going to have to talk about in another video. But the lesson, when title gets messy, you have to combine legal cleanup with a negotiated exit. Early organization will get you the waiver and a clean break. Another story, a salaried borrower went 6 months late after hours were cut and a medical bill hit. He ignored the phone calls, then finally submitted a package. His income finally stabilized with documented new pay stubs, and he was able to write a tight hardship letter, and he requested for a rate and a term modification targeting a payment he could sustain. Now, they did not give him the rate that he asked for, but they were able to work on the terms. And then he set weekly follow-ups, corrected the missing bank page within 24 hours because he was missing a few things. He was polite. He was persistent. What was the outcome? His modification was approved. His arrears were capitalized, and a payment was reduced so that the number could fit his budget. Okay. What's the lesson here? Complete files, consistent follow-up turned no hope into performing again. That's something. Another story. A retired couple with equity couldn't handle the insurance and tax increases. They didn't want a foreclosure on their record because they were transitioning to assisted living. They listed quickly with an agent who was experienced in distressed homes and timelines, realtors that we've worked with. They priced it to the market and they negotiated a standard sale before foreclosure milestones were hit in court. They coordinated payoff statements, they cleared out any minor liens, and they closed fast with a cash buyer. The mortgage was paid, surplus cash was available for the homeowner and for the move, and there was no foreclosure. If you have equity but can't afford the carry, speed to the market beats waiting for the perfect price. Keep that in mind. An out-of-state homeowner fell behind on a vacant property. Showings were tough, repairs were needed, and the auction date was right around the corner. They opened communication with the loan servicer. They documented the vacancy, the hardship, and they requested a deed in lieu evaluation. This is a last-minute resort, but they were desperate. They provided photos, utility shutoffs, and they secured the access to the property. The deed in lieu was approved because the loan servicers love that, and they did give them a modest relocation assistance. Anywhere between $3,000 to $10,000 is normal. This is faster than a foreclosure, and there's no court proceedings, so the loan servicers, they love this. When you see that there's a sale that's happening and it's stalling, the deed in lieu can help out and speed the process up. Now, what to do if you are a self-employed homeowner? Okay, I've worked with a homeowner who had his income up and down like a roller coaster. He had early attempts, but they were denied for insufficient documentation. So with a foreclosure advocate like Project Homeowner Rescue, they produced a year-to-date profit and loss that was tied to their bank deposits. We were able to get a CPA letter explaining the seasonality of the income and 3 months of business statements. We asked for investor guidelines that matched the variable income, and a modification was approved using averaged income with a trial period to prove affordability. I think it was around 3 months. The point, self-employed files can also win, but the math has to be clean to the statements. And I want you to notice something here. I want you to notice a pattern with all these stories. They had a situation, they had an action, they had an outcome, and there was a lesson. None of this requires a miracle. It requires early engagement, complete documents, and steady follow-up. Your path might be a modification. It may be a sale. It may be a short sale, and at worst, a deed in lieu. But what matters is that you act while windows are open. You need to learn to navigate your specific options. So here's the menu. How do we choose? What do we pick? Well, how do we know? If you want to stay in your home, start with a loan modification. It adjusts the rate and the term. I've never seen it really adjust the rate, but the idea is that it's supposed to adjust the rate and the term, and it does capitalize the arrears and targets an affordable payment for the homeowner. This works when income is stable and stabilized. You'll need clean income, you'll need a tight budget, and you'll need hardship letters to show that things are getting resolved and there's something that's ongoing and manageable. If your hardship is temporary, ask about a forbearance. It pauses or reduces payments, but missed amounts aren't forgiven. Expect a deferral, repayment plan, or even a small modification after. But you need to use that window in order to fix your budget and to gather all the documents that you have. Now, if you must sell and you owe more than the home's value, request a short sale review. This is where you're going to list a property. You're going to submit offers, one offer that you accept, and push for a deficiency waiver. That's super important in a short sale. This avoids foreclosure damage to your record, and it closes that chapter. It's the best option that you have if you're upside down. If selling is stalling out and you're done with the property, a deed in lieu hands back the keys to the loan servicer. Oftentimes, this comes with relocation assistance. It's cleaner than a foreclosure, especially on vacant properties. So the key filter that you want to understand is equity. If you have equity but can't afford the carry, List the property now. Close before the timelines get even tighter. No equity and income won't support a loan modification. A short sale and a deed in lieu becomes your off-ramp at that point. One of the things that you want to also focus on is that you don't want to do this alone. You want to build a support team, right? You want to bring on someone who is a foreclosure advocate, like a HUD certified housing counselor, or someone like myself from Project Homeowner Rescue that can help negotiate on your behalf. You want to, depending on your situation, add a real estate attorney. And if you have some certain legal timelines, if you have probate, or even if you have liens. If selling, use a real estate agent that's experienced in short sales and who understands the process with the title group. Okay. Everything needs to be assigned. Everything needs to have an assigned role, period. Your best outcome comes from early action. It comes from complete documents. It comes from steady follow-up. You need to call a HUD certified counselor or foreclosure advocate like Project Homeowner Rescue today. You need to assemble your package. You need to reach out to your loan servicer to open up the loss mitigation review. If you want help mapping options, modification, short sale, a cash equity sale, book a free consult with Project Homeowner Rescue. Don't wait for day 90. Start now.